Okay. So the way this works is that this is your pressure tank.
Okay.
This gives you the pressure inside your house. Here
Okay.
is what happens.
So when the toilet's flush and all of that.
That's correct. So all the water is coming from here, and what it does, it comes throughout here, goes through the water treatment, and then up through the house is how that works. The first thing that you have here is what they call a sediment filter.
Okay.
Now it says here that they're changing the filter every 6 months, which to me means that there's not much of a sediment issue here.
Okay.
Generally, if there's a sediment issue here, you'd be doing it every 3 months, every week, something like that.
Oh wow.
Every 6 months, that is not an issue.
Good.
I don't see any filters
That
lying
means the
around.
pipes in the well and all of that is.
Generally, what that means is that the well is not pulling any sediment from the well yet. A lot of the times what happens is that underneath the well, there's a 4-inch pipe that goes in the ground.
Right.
It has this screen at the bottom, and then the pump is inside of there. So when that pump turns on, you get a little vibration. And over years of use, that screen wears out. And basically what happens from that point is that every time the pump turns on, it's pulling sediment is what happens.
Oh, okay.
And then this alleviates it from going to the rest of the house is what
Okay, I
happens
got
when
you.
you have that
Okay.
issue.
Do you have to go down in that well to see?
No,
all
sir,
that?
I can't fit in a 4-inch pipe, so
Oh.
it makes it a little difficult for me.
Well, how would we know if that screen is missing or clogged?
You wouldn't be able to tell.
Wow.
There's no way of telling. And then generally, if there is an issue with that, this is what they'll do.
Okay.
It's just one of those things. It
This will
happens.
basically tell us, according to how often we would have to actually change it. They're doing it every 6 months. If it starts happening every month, this is an indication that the screen might be.
That is correct.
either
That is
missing or
correct.
dirty.
And what'll happen is that you'll see like a blackish, brownish kind of sand that comes up
into
from
the
well
water.
that comes up.
Yeah.
And that'll give you the indication that that screen has.
in the water itself.
Well, it'll come up in the filter. If you don't have this here, this will stop everything. It won't go to your faucets and everything. But when you do change this, you'll see that color
Okay.
of that
Got it.
sand and
Got
everything
it.
like
Got
that.
Got it.
Now, to change this filter, what you're going to do is you have bypasses. See the bypasses here?
Cut it off.
What you're going to do is turn this one off, leave that one off, okay? What that does is it alleviates the water entering inside the sediment filter at that point. This little red button that you see on top of here,
Bad button.
you're going to press that button. That button, what it does, it relieves the pressure inside this blue canister. You're going to take this little handy tool here, which looks like an old school oil filter wrench.
Like a fuel wrench. Fuel filter.
That slides up inside of there, and
Twist
basically
that
this
bad
is
boy
your
off.
tool to screw that off. Now once you unscrew that, have the bucket ready. This is going to be filled with water.
Got it.
Unscrew that, let that drop inside of there. You're going to take that old filter out, toss that one, put a new one in. I don't see any filters lying around.
There it
It's
is.
hidden behind there. There you go. So that filter fits right inside of there. Now what you're going to do is that once you replace this filter, what I always recommend people to do is that once you tighten this, do not use this tool to tighten it. Hand tighten it. Okay? Tighten it, and then when you go turn the water on, do it slow. The reason why I tell people to do it slow, let's just say for some odd reason you didn't thread this correctly. I'd rather you have a little leak than a big one. So that way you know if you got it threaded correctly. But once you unleash the water, you don't see any leaks, you're golden for, we'll say, another 6 months.
Got it.
Now the only thing else you have here is a softener system. This is just basically just softening the water. That's all this does. It's not taking iron out. It's not neutralizing the pH. It's not doing anything like that. This just softens the water. It must be a little bit hard is what it is. The only thing you have to do as far as maintaining that, excuse me, let's get it real quick, is you have to add salt to this. Nah, it just comes off. And there's a little bit of salt in there. Now, what happens with
rock
this?
salt.
The salt, and this is specifically water treatment salt. This is not like table salt or anything like that, okay?
Got you. Good.
You don't want to be doing that. The salt is what cleans this tank, okay? So the salt is not being used to remediate your water. It is just specifically to clean this tank. That's all it is. So if you don't have any salt in here, this tank is not being cleaned properly. This system goes through a cleaning process once a week.
On its own.
On its own.
This-
It's all timed up here. Generally it's on Sunday at 2 o'clock in the morning when you're not using the water. So that it usually takes about 20 minutes to go through its process.
It'll do its own thing.
It'll do its own thing. Generally you'll be putting about 1 to 2 bags of salt in this a month.
Okay.
Those bags of salt are 40 pounds, so it's about 40 to 60 pounds of salt you'll be using a month. A bag of salt runs about $5 to $7.